Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Oracle Wisdom. My name is Natalie Sadie, and we are going to be having a look at the energies of the week ahead, this very first week of December. Now, I realize I am a day early. I am doing something very exciting this week for me personally, and so I didn't want that to mess with our with the normal reading, and so I thought I would get in a day early and we'll get it all going. And being the 1st of December, well, technically it is now, but it is the 1st of December. I'm thinking we're still in November. So I am going to do the monthly reading straight after this. So it'll probably be up in about an hour to 2 hours, because by the time I just edit all the inconsequential bits out and get it uploaded to YouTube. So make sure you check that one out. I am going to continue with the pick-a-pile. All right, so let's just get into it. We are starting with the Ascending Life Oracle, because we all know I love this deck. And hello to everyone who's joining me live in the chat. I realize we're doing this a bit late, so it's always great when people still show up. Okay, so the first card is love, romantic feelings, mutual attraction. Someone has feelings for you, focusing on love. So I always say I don't do love readings, but the last few readings that I've done, this keeps coming up. So I feel we'll pull a couple more cards and just sort of see what direction this is going in. But clearly there is something going around. So keep your heart open to sort of what may appear sometimes very suddenly and when you least expect it, because that's generally when things show up. Stepping stone, taking one step at a time. Don't rush the journey, gradually building on success, the start of something bigger. So whenever we are starting a new journey, it can always look so overwhelming in the beginning when we start, because you're focusing on the end goal and it's a lot. You look at everything that you have to achieve to be able to get there, and it feels like it's impossible. This is where you focus on putting one foot in front of the other. You don't have to do any more than that. If you've got a really big goal that you're working towards, break it down into big sort of steps that you need to take to get to that point. And then when you've broken down those bigger steps, then focus on the first part and what are the little steps you need to take to reach that first milestone. And that's all you have to focus on. And if you keep doing that for each of the goals along the way to the end goal, all of a sudden you'll be halfway there and you won't have even realized that you'd made that sort of progress. So just keep that in mind. Oh, okay. Okay, so we had a couple of, or 3 cards jump out. So secrets, moving in silence, hidden factors, lack of communication, not having all the facts. So my first thought is, are you doing something where you should be moving in silence? You don't need to be telling everybody what you're doing. And I say this all the time. There are so many naysayers that exist in this world that are so quick to tell people that they can't do something or that they shouldn't be doing something. And the reality is, how would they know? How would they know what you should or shouldn't be doing? So you don't need to tell everybody what your moves are going to be. But at the same time, if there is somebody that isn't communicating with you, they're not giving you the facts that you need, or there is a lack of communication, that may be something that you need to look at and address. And it's very difficult to be effective and to get to where you need to get if you're not getting all the information. So the next card that jumped out was clean up, sweeping away negative situations, cleaning up your life, decluttering your mind, and simplifying your life. So, I mean, that's perfect that came out with secrets, because the reality is, if you're dealing with somebody who is not forthcoming, who's withholding information that you need, it's time to clear that out of your life, because it's not helpful, it's not productive, and it's not going to get you where you need to get. In a more practical sense, they always say a clean space makes for a clear mind. So if you're looking around and things are just jumbled and you've got clutter and things around you, work on getting that tidied up. I hate cleaning. I much prefer when I'm able to pay someone to do my housework. But the reality is, we all have to clean. And I do it because I enjoy living in a clean environment. And it's a pain in the ass, but the feeling you get when it's done is everything. There is nothing better than climbing into a bed with fresh linen on it and everything's dusted and vacuumed and all of that. So it's the beginning of the very last month of the year. It is time to set yourself up for success for what's coming in 2025. And one of the best ways you can do that is by getting everything clear, clean, and in order. Because I have a belief, and this isn't necessarily everybody's, I like to start the new year in a way that kind of signals how the rest of the year is going to play out. So I get it. People love to go and party on New Year's Eve. There's no judgment whatsoever. For me, it's not my thing. I don't like being hungover, and I don't like starting the very first day of the new year feeling hungover, trying to get myself feeling okay physically, mentally, emotionally, all of that, because alcohol just messes with me. So for me, having a clean home or a clean environment, whether it be a workspace or just your bedroom, if that's all you have control over, but keeping that in a state that kind of signals to the universe, this is how I'm operating, is a huge help. Okay, so the third card that jumped out that time was chaos. Difficult experiences, heavy burdens test your strength, unpredictable events, and opposing forces. So I think this is one of the challenges that we may face at the moment. And we've got, I know Neptune's retrograde and will be going direct on the 7th of December, because I am counting the minutes until that retrograde is done, because then Neptune will finally get off my Mars and Mercury and South Node and be done. But the reality is, whenever we're dealing with chaos and whenever we're dealing with situations that are challenging us and challenging where we are. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that hadn't focused properly. How you navigate all of that says more about who you are and the strength that you have. And the other thing is, you have to remember that while having difficulty navigating some of these difficult experiences can be rough, sometimes having that, it highlights how good certain things are in your life. It makes you reassess your life and focus on what is working, what is good, and what direction you actually want to go in. So while I get that chaos is a negative card, I look at it as an opportunity for how you're going to navigate what's coming. And things don't always need to be doom and gloom, even if they're challenging. It's like a tough astrological placement that you have either in your birth chart, or just a planetary alignment that's happening for a brief moment, like the Neptune on my Mars. It freaking sucks. I'm tired all the time, and no, there is nothing physically wrong with me. I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. I get it, but I've navigated it. I may have whined a little bit, but it's fine. I've gotten through the other end, and I will be so glad on December 7th. So these things are always, they come in, nothing is permanent. So you just have to navigate it and get through it. It feels like there's a lot going on. I'm going to pull 2 more cards from this deck. Poor health, neglecting health, health needs assessment, mental health conditions, addictive habits. So it's really, why talk about Mercury being retrograde. Okay, let's try this again. Addictive habits is something that can come up when we are being tested, and addiction is essentially a way of self-medicating. So if you have an addictive personality, be very aware of your coping mechanisms, and if you need to find another way to work around a situation that is happening for you. If your health is not great, it's time to look at that and take care of that. Again, you don't want to start 2025 with poor health or not being okay. So just pay attention to what your body is telling you it needs. If you know you've been eating more takeout and crap that you shouldn't necessarily be eating, maybe it's time to put a stop to that and start making your own food, or just making better choices when you are ordering out. Just take it as a warning that it's something that you need to pay attention to and focus on. And of course, if there ever is any mental health concerns, always reach out to someone, whether it be a professional or a friend. You don't need to suffer through anything on your own. There are always people that are willing to help, even if it feels like there's not. As someone who's been through some incredibly challenging times, and I have suffered through those times in silence on my own and hidden them from everyone, what I discovered on the other side was, as I spoke about my experiences and told people in my life what I had been going through, they all cried with me. One, for my pain, but two, because they were so sad that I didn't feel I could reach out to them. So just take this as a PSA that there is always someone you can reach out to. Even if it's scary and it's embarrassing, make the phone call. And the final card from this deck is boundaries. Your boundaries are being tested, not surrendering, standing your ground, and staying true to yourself. So through all of this, being tested and sort of setting yourself up for success in 2025, you have to hold your boundaries and do what is right for you. So whether that be with somebody new that's coming into your life, whether it be with secrets that are being held, whether it be with this chaos that's running around, stay true to who you are and hold those boundaries, because you need to do what's right for you. And you can hold those boundaries without pushing everybody else away. It doesn't need to be a ridiculously isolating thing, but you can absolutely say what works and what doesn't work for you. And if you've got people that aren't communicating and not giving you all the information you need, it's time to stand up and say, hey, this isn't working for me. This is what I need. And we need to find a happy medium. And there is nothing wrong with that. What I'll always say is, when you're having a tricky conversation, you always have to think about your tone when you're having the conversation, because sometimes you may think it sounds fine, and to the other person, they're hearing what you're saying and it's sounding completely differently. So just be aware of that if you are having those conversations. Okay, so we've got the Starseed Oracle, Rebecca Campbell. Hiereth, longing for home, homesick for the stars. We are all light beings, and we all choose to come here to have a human experience. And we're out of Scorpio season, and I always think Scorpio season is always a great time to connect to the other side. But I do think, for me personally, there are moments where I long for a deeper connection to the universe and to the stars, and to reconnect essentially to home. And so the best way to go about all of that is to take time to ground, to meditate, to do what brings you back to that grounded central place, and that brings you back to back to a place where you feel that you can connect, and just know that you're not the only one feeling that way. And sometimes it's a matter of just feeling a little disconnected from people here on earth, and it's fine. This feeling too shall pass, like everything else. Nothing is permanent, but just always honor that connection of where we come from. Earth School, life lessons, soul growth, study, higher learning. Exactly what I was just talking about. We all come here to have this human experience for our souls to grow and develop and have more depth and knowledge and wisdom for the next time round, or if it's our last time here on earth, to be able to ascend and help guide the other souls that are still going through it. So if you're feeling that homesickness, maybe it's time to pick up a book and increase the knowledge that you have. If you think you're a starseed, what's the book? Bringers of the Dawn, channeled from the Palladians. There are all sorts of books in those different realms, and that's always a really, really good way to connect and get those messages that you may need, or to sort of reconnect with the place that feels like home for you. And you'll know the right book when you find it, if that's sort of what you're searching for. But find something that helps develop your gifts and your soul growth. Baby steps, action. Follow your intuition before it makes sense. So that's the whole thing, isn't it? We get a calling in our gut and we don't always know why. And we have to trust it, because there is a reason we're being led to where we're going. And what I will say is, what I am doing for me this week is something that was first mentioned to me years ago, and I didn't think anything of it, and I ignored it. And recently something came up again, and I was kind of pushed in a direction, and I didn't know how I would make things work and how I would make this thing happen and the timing of it. And can I tell you, everything lined up. The stars literally aligned for everything to come together for this to be happening for me. And so it's just an example of your intuition guiding you to where you're meant to go, even if it doesn't make sense. So you have to trust it. I'm just going to pull one more from here. We the Hathors, deep love, mother's milk, birth as a portal. I feel like new things are being born into this world, and it doesn't necessarily need to be people. It can be new opportunities and things that are coming through, and hence the stepping stones, or new love being born into this world. So the fact that this comes out after we're being told baby steps, again, that lines up with stepping stones, and that we are to trust our intuition even if it doesn't make sense. Know that something great is being birthed, and you have to trust it. Okay, we are going to finish up, because if you looked at the thumbnail, I'm writing my dragon. So we are finishing with the Dragon Oracle cards by Diana Cooper. I always love me a couple of dragon cards. I'd like even more if I could write an actual dragon. But that's a conversation for another day. Royal Blue and Gold Dragon strengthens you to stand in your power with wisdom. Awaken to your own majesty, wear your cloak of power with pride. So this goes back to holding your boundaries. You are powerful, you are strong, and you are capable of everything that is coming your way. Any chaos that gets thrown at you this week, you can withstand. You are the Royal Blue and Gold Dragon. So trust that and stand firm in that. And you also have more wisdom within you than you even realize, but it's a matter of tapping into that intuition and tapping into that wisdom that you have, and again, trusting it. And the more you tap into it, the more you trust it, the more you listen to it, the more it will be available to you. All right, so last card, Earth and Fire Dragon. Works with you to clear the fifth dimension ley lines. It's time for service. When you give, you receive. So while you are holding your boundaries and you are doing what you need to do for you, there is always, 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 always space to give back, whether that be to an individual or to a community. The universe will then bring it back to you as well. But when you give, you have to give without expectations of anything that you're going to get back. And when you give to those around you, whether it be supporting somebody, whether it be helping family, whether it be going and helping out at some charity event, you always feel good when you're done, because you see how positively that affects everybody around you. So never, ever, ever stop giving to others. I know at times it's difficult. There was a moment in time where I had no money, and I was trying to get out of where I was living and move somewhere else. And I remember I was feeling so sorry for myself. And I went and I had to go to an audition in a really busy part of Melbourne. And I pulled up and there was a homeless guy sitting on the ground and he wasn't bothering anybody. And I had to run past him. I went to the audition. I came back to my car and I sat in my car for a minute and I watched this man who was not asking for a single thing from anybody, but everybody that as they approached him, they would turn their head away from him. And I just thought, how awful is that? It's like he's invisible and nobody wants to even acknowledge this man's presence, even though he's not causing a disturbance. He's not asking for anything. He's not begging. He's not doing anything wrong. And it gave me a moment of reflection that as tough as life was for me in that moment, I had a roof over my head that night. I had food in my cupboards at home I could eat, and I would be in a warm bed. And so with that, I looked in my purse and the only cash I had on me was $20. And I got out of my car and I walked up to him and I had a brief chat to him and I handed him the $20. And he said to me, "Oh, wow, I can go across the road and get a coffee and a muffin." And my heart just broke for him in that moment. And I said, "You can go and buy whatever you want with that. I wish I could give you more." And he said, "You know what? With this money, I can get coffee and a muffin today and I can get coffee and a muffin tomorrow." And I said, "I just hope this makes your life a little bit easier." And with that, giving him the last bit of money that I had, I went and got back in my car and I cried for a little bit and I felt so much better that I didn't need anything. There's plenty that I wanted, but I had everything that I needed. And just before I drove off, I looked across and there was another man that had obviously watched my interaction with this guy, and he walked up and handed him some cash as well. And by the time I drove off, that homeless man, his face was beaming. He was just so happy. And honestly, I don't even think it was about the money. I think it was the fact that some other human beings saw him and took the time to care for him and to speak to him. And I think that's what mattered to him. And every time I start getting down about something, I think about that. And anytime I think I can't because I don't have anything to give, and it's not always about money or anything like that. Sometimes it's about time. Sometimes it's just about giving advice or a little bit of support to someone. Sometimes it's just giving a day to go and help, like I said, with a charity or something. But it will always be rewarding for you at a soul and at a spiritual level. And I do think that the universe rewards people that are generous in that way. So I hope I hope this reading helped some of you. Be open to everything that's coming. It feels like it's a bit of a hectic week, and like the energies are all over the place. We do have Mercury retrograde. Obviously, Neptune is retrograde for a number of days longer. We've got something else is retrograde. Jupiter's retrograde. We've got all these retrogrades going on. So we've got all these energies that are, not necessarily how we would enjoy them. But the reality is you are strong enough to withstand this. Go within, listen to your intuition. You are strong enough to do it all. So, like I said, in the next 2 hours, the December reading will be up. I am doing Pick a Pile. I'm about to set that up and film it, and I will get it up immediately. And then I will see you all next Monday for the weekly Oracle Wisdom. And as always, Anne, thank you so much.